Welcome to this week's show. This is Lucas. Caught you.
Welcome to this week's edition of the One Lane Road podcast.
Yeah.
You did catch me. I was over here texting, and you threw me off there.
I just jumped in there on you.
This week we're going to be joined here in just a few minutes by Justin Bradford. He works for ESPN on 102.5 as a part-time job there, and he also works for the Nashville Symphony. So he was see him pretty active on social media a lot with Predators hockey and other forms of hockey. So
this is going to be your hockey podcast, everybody.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been kind of asking for some hockey, for some Predators, and so I don't see anybody better suited to fill us in. And being from a southern state, Predators hockey didn't just happen overnight. The fan base didn't just clamor, and so this is something that's kind of when they started winning. It's more of a attraction thing for people around here.
And this is what he's into. He even wrote a book. What's the name of his book?
Called Making of Smashville.
The Making of Smashville.
So we're going to get Justin on the phone lines and have a good interview with him here. Hey, Justin, welcome to the One Lane Road podcast.
Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, buddy. Sorry about the little bit of a technical difficulty right there at the beginning, but everybody will appreciate that happens from time to time.
Yeah, that second introduction was a hell of a lot more generic there than the first one was.
Yeah, we was kind of hyping you up a little bit more the first time we went through.
So anyway, you were strongly suggested by our friend of the show, Carlos Huesca. He keeps us informed on everything Preds. Do you know Carlos very well from hockey? He tells me about you a lot.
I mean, I kind of do. He tends to follow me around everywhere I go. I mean, it's kind of flattering, but it's also creepy at the same
time. When you put that on Facebook yesterday, I laughed inside and out for a long time. Carlos is a passionate fan for sure. He's always like,
he's passionate as they come.
He's always like, man, you gotta get to Preds games. Like, dude, I will. I will. I just don't get it. Well, you gotta learn. You gotta get with Bradford. And I'm like, okay, I will. I promise. But so it's good to finally talk to you. One-on-one here or one-on-two. But of course, our fans of yours will know you for your work on penaltyboxradio.com as well as Penalty Box Radio on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Of course, out of Nashville. Where did you go to college? Did you have your mindset that you wanted to concentrate on sports after graduation?
Well, actually, I didn't know that I wanted to be involved in sports when I graduated. I went to Cumberland University over in Lebanon, Tennessee, and my degree is in theater.
Oh, well, there you go.
So being in there, I was involved in sports. I'm also the PA announcer for Cumberland football still. I've been doing that now for 9 seasons. And sometimes I'll fill in on basketball as well. So I still love sports, obviously, and like going to Predators games, but I didn't see a future in it or doing anything of the sort like what I do now when I was in college. It just kind of, I don't want to say fell into my lap, but it's one of those things that kind of fell into my lap to where an opportunity did. Kind of took it and ran with it and realized that, hey, I really enjoy this. And so the theater degree really obviously has helped in terms of presentation of myself and using my voice and using myself on camera and everything of that sort. So it's definitely something that I would say it taught me a lot more than people might think it taught me when they come to college and paying all that money for a degree. But the theater degree definitely did help me, and it's one of those things a few years after that, after graduation, kind of really got into sports, and here I am now doing what I do with Penalty Box Radio.
I bet those improv classes during that theater degree probably really helped whenever you go to interview some of these hockey guys, huh?
Yeah, especially when you don't want a cliche answer, because it tends to be, in every sport, you already know what you're going to get when you ask a question.
Yeah.
Well, it's because
praise God, right?
Well, in the world we live in, be damned if anybody says anything different than anybody else, because they get chastised and criticized, and that's so everybody has to give standard answers these days.
Yeah, good. Or the next morning you'll be on ESPN apologizing for what you said the night before for no reason.
Yeah, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
That's right.
My Twitter was hacked.
Yeah. So what year did you start Penalty Box Radio? And, when did you start working on 102.5 covering the Preds?
Let's see, started Penalty Box Radio in 2012. Mm-hmm. That was right before the lockout happened, lo and behold. It was in August of 2012. It was me and my co-host, Ben, and if anybody knows Ben, he's the guy that would paint up at Predators games. He paints his belly. He actually proposed to his now wife by putting a message on his belly and getting on the jumbotron. It's worked out really well. I mean, he made it on like Clay Travis's blog and TSN up in Canada, so it worked out really well for him. But we're sitting in my house, and we were part of a different blog at the time, and we wanted to split, do something that was more hockey focused, and we already had the invitation to go onto 102.5, and so we were sitting there and ended up having cigars and tasty cakes when we figured out the name of what we were going to do, and going on and securing the website name and the Facebook page and the Twitter account and all that stuff, and went from there. And it was a great challenge for us, because just a month later, it was pretty much when the NHL lockout started. So here we are. We have a hockey program, a hockey show, and no hockey
and nothing to cover.
So it was a great challenge, though, because if not for the lockout, and if not for that 6-month period almost of time when there wasn't NHL hockey, we wouldn't have gotten involved in talking about college hockey, or taking a trip to cover junior hockey, or getting involved in Vanderbilt hockey and the rest of the SEC schools in their hockey programs. So it was a blessing in disguise to have it, because it forced us to learn about the sport even more and dive deep into it to help educate a lot of people about sport in general and how to become a better fan.
Well, what exactly, you said it kind of fell into your lap. What was it about hockey that was what fell into your lap? How'd you get from where you were at to that?
Well, with the original blog is one of those things we're looking for guests on a 30-minute podcast on Blog Talk Radio.
Uh-huh.
And if anyone has ever dealt with Blog Talk Radio, the quality is horrible, but it's a place to discuss.
Right.
And it was with a free 30-minute show, and it was a guest, and they enjoyed having me on, and ended up making me a co-host and then the host of the show, and kind of worked up from there and brought on the people that I really knew, and getting some great guests on the show and growing from there. Then we got a sponsor to make it an hour-long show that was live, and from then on, talking to the right people and showing that we had a good product, met with 102.5, and from there we got picked up and brought the sponsor along with us to get our airtime covered, and there we are, a weekly show on Wednesday night to talk hockey on ESPN Nashville.
That's awesome.
That was my next question. Obviously, just to ask how often you were on. A friend of our show, Amber Harding, of course, she's the social media coordinator for the Titans. She's always hanging out with those boys over at 102.5, Ricky and Chase. You know who those guys?
Oh yeah, I know them. I definitely know them. Chase is a good guy. He was actually our first producer.
Oh, okay.
So he's definitely taken care of us, and he's worked his way up, and it's great for him that he's worked his way up big time at the station there. And Ricky's just a goofball.
Yeah, that's the general thing I keep hearing from everybody. So I've met both of them. I guess I can't really remember actually if I've met Ricky or not, but I've met Chase once before. So seemed like a really nice guy. So I didn't know if you interact with him much at the station or not. But so how do you think the Predators have evolved in their time in Nashville? I mean, do you think it was hard for fans in the South to understand it first and to rally around a professional hockey team?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. In quick self-plug in the book that I wrote called The Making of Smashville. It's a history book of the history of the Predators in Nashville, and from before they were even a team to up to last end of 2 seasons ago, because I had to wait 6 months for it to get published. But in regards to your question, it kind of goes on that whole point of educating the fan base, and that's what was so funny is that Barry Trotz, the original coach of the Nashville Predators, remembers coming here. He was in the Northeast, and he's been in the Northwest, and he's been everywhere in terms of hockey, and in Canada, obviously, don't need much education on that. But the first thing he noticed was people were passionate. He was passionate sports fans, period. So obviously, football and baseball, big time, and even and especially college sports in this area of the country. And so it's one of those things. You obviously have passionate sports fans. Now let's teach them how to be passionate about hockey. And that's one of the things that he talked about is why I think he was the right person for the job. Him and other people like Pete Weber, the voice of the Predators, and Terry Chris, is that they took the time to educate people about the sport and not just talk down to them, but say, here's what icing is, here's what offside is, here's how to learn more about the sport and about the different players. And Scott Walker, who's a former part of the leadership team for the Predators before he moved on, talking about how just in terms of when he first started, people were asking lots of questions about the sport and really intuitive about asking that. Well, then a couple of years later, you'd see people at the grocery store, and they were complaining to him about the power play and why it wasn't working. So that just shows the fan there from asking questions to demanding more just shows the evolution of a fan base when they have expectations. That's what you really have seen for the past 17, 18 seasons, is that the fan base has evolved to where they expect them to be vying for a championship instead of just, hey, let's be great. We're glad that we have a team here. Now they expect them to win. And that shows the evolution of any fan base, is when you have that expectation level rise.
And it's pretty easy to be a fan whenever you go down to a game in Bridgestone, man.
Oh, yeah.
Then that's just an exciting atmosphere, and man, they really put on a show other than just a hockey game. The whole thing's a real good show to watch.
It is, and then that's the best way to get a casual sports fan hooked, is that if you get them to 3 games, if they're not hooked, they're probably not going to get hooked, and that's okay. But most people will, because it's a fun atmosphere, and it's very different from other venues as well. And I've been to multiple NHL arenas, college hockey arenas, junior arenas, and Nashville puts on the best show, the best product, and that's what they need to. Nashville's an entertainment capital, and so you expect that there to be music, there to be laughs, there to be just entertainment value out of the sport, and that's what they do a good job of, is entertaining the people that come there and making it a family atmosphere.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was kind of a little butthurt when they first got the Predators, because I'm an NBA fan, through and through. So I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I was upset that Memphis eventually got the market instead of Nashville, but and it just kind of just to show you, that people are lost at first when they go, because we got tickets the very first time we went. My wife and I went with another couple, and because we're watching the game, and finally something good happens, and everybody's going crazy. There's an old gentleman behind me. He goes, "Hey, buddy, could you mind telling me what happened just then?" I said, "I got free tickets and I'm drinking beer, and I have no idea what in the hell happened." I was about to. I said, "I was about to ask you. I'm just here for the beer."
No, but that's true. And like you said, NBA, actually the arena, as you guys probably know, it was actually built for the NBA team, and that's what I was talking to the original owner, Craig Leopold. He just wanted to bring a professional sports team to Nashville. And originally they were looking to bring an NBA team, and one of those teams was the Sacramento Kings.
Right.
If they were looking at relocation, and then when they came to relocation for an NHL team, the Devils were talked about on New Jersey. That didn't happen, so then they decided on expansion. So that's why the arena, if anybody's ever noticed, the arena is built like it is, to where there's not a real press box in there, is because obviously in the NBA, your press box is courtside.
Right.
All the media and everything's courtside, or they're in an auxiliary room. Whereas in NHL, you usually have a press box way up top that's blocked off. Nashville doesn't have that, because it was originally built as an NBA arena.
I just got frustrated all over again. I'm I'm happy with the Preds, though. I mean, like I said, I don't get to a lot of games. Carlos sat me down last time I was in Clarksville with him, and he tried to explain the rules to me. I mean, like we were sitting at a dinner table at Cheddar's, and he's just like grilling me on the rules, and I appreciated him doing it. But I'm still just your casual fan. But
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, well, another thing, Shea Weber was one of the all-time greats of the franchise and a real fan favorite, and he was traded in off-season for PK Subban. How's that been received?
Well, it's still been mixed. Obviously, the fan base is a fan base that holds on to the fan favorites pretty dearly, and I understand that, especially because it's still a young fan base, and that's nothing against the people that are fans of the team by any means. It's just one of those things that when the team's only been successful, you think for, say, half of the time that it's been around, that's not that long of a period of time, and they hold on to things like fan favorites. For instance, Jordan Tutu, they held on to him for a very long time. They finally are getting over that, especially because he plays for the Blackhawks now. But Shea Weber being the captain, being the face of the franchise, being a guy that wins the hardest shot competition, layers hard hits, things like that, has the epic beard every playoffs. It's hard to let go of that, so I totally understand how it's been hard for people to receive PK Subban in the most positive light, especially because Subban hasn't had the opportunity to really impress many people because he's been injured for a lot of the season, and he's still probably not playing at 100%. That makes it even more difficult to replace when you see Montreal, even though they just fired their head coach and replaced their head coach with a previous head coach who was the head coach of a rival team. And even though they're in first place, it makes it really tough for a fan to see that Weber is now dealing with his third coach in just the past few seasons, and PK Subban's down here and he's injured, not being able to impress. So personally, I think PK Subban's great just because he's a little bit younger. He has a little more of that offensive flair when he's healthy, and he's really big in the community. And Shea Weber was really big in the community too, and so there's a huge loss in terms of that. But PK Subban's really made up for that loss by being involved with Vanderbilt Children's Hospital and being involved in the community and by helping those that are in need, just like he did in Montreal. So it's a lot of the things that are off the ice that Subban provides as much as on the ice. And since he's come back from injury, he's been really solid in the defensive zone. Maybe he's not putting up as many points as people expect, but he's been really solid in doing what he's supposed to do, and that's play defense.
And
I'm sorry.
PK's really, you're talking about the community. He's really doing things like showing up the Titans game and going to Tootsie's and singing country music too. So that's really helping out.
Yeah.
Helping out his image around Nashville.
Yeah, and that's all I was going to touch on as well. I'm sorry not to cut you off. I just, that right there from like a casual fan like myself, seeing that. Where he's at the Titans game going crazy. He was out there with no shirt on, pouring water over himself, going crazy at the 50-yard line. And, being a fan of Tootsie's, I mean, I think it's cool that he went there and just kind of jumped on stage and started singing. I mean, and you don't get to connect a lot of times with these players, and when they've got the helmets on, and it's like football. Sometimes it's hard to relate when these guys are behind helmets the whole time. But you see guys like that reaching out and making a name for themselves and coming out and talking to the community and showing a little bit of his personality. It's easier to kind of gravitate towards.
It absolutely is. And what's really been great, too, is it started last season with the playoffs, is that having a lot of the Titans players go to the Predators games in the playoffs, and it showed that one Nashville kind of thing, the we are all one city type of aspect, and that was huge to have all these Titans, to have the whole offensive line there, to have Marcus Mariota there, to have these players there showing and waving the towels and being excited and pumped for another pro team in the city was huge. And it was one of those things the Predators had to make sure that they went into the same thing. So that's why multiple players were going to practices. Head coach Peter Laviolette was going to practice. PK Subban going to practice. PK Subban being the 12th man there. It was huge in terms of having to show this community that these two teams can work together and say that we need to be a winning city, not just with one sport. And it's not just one sport competing against the other, one team competing against the other. It's important for both teams to win championships, because that's how you build great sports fans and build a great community, is by having the teams support each other. And you see that in other cities as well. So I was really happy to see the Titans start that off by coming to the Predators playoff games, and then seeing the Predators reciprocate that come fall.
Yeah, I think it was really cool also. And I think this is the best place that they've both been in at the same time, probably ever, with the Predators kind of being constantly in the playoff window there, and the Titans under John Robinson, making the huge strides they made last year. And kind of touch on something you answered for Lucas there earlier in that question. I can vouch as being a Titans fan. It's we've had some really bad years, and you said that the fans gravitate towards the players and fan favorites. We will stick by. We are such a loyal community there in Nashville. We will stick by some of the worst bums as far as when it comes to Titans. Like, there has been players that nationally weren't very good, but they do such a good job of putting the players out there in the community that you're like, oh man, so and so. Well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, he gave up 15 touchdowns this year as a cornerback, but I mean, like, such a nice guy, and like, I'll defend Jake Locker to the day I die, because he was the nicest guy I ever met. Couldn't stay healthy on Sundays, but just kind of what you're saying, they become fan favorites. My wife would leave me for Jake Locker in a heartbeat still. so I mean, I get it, and I couldn't agree more with how everybody becomes fan favorites in Nashville, and they stay loyal to them. But so get back to your work, man. Just not talk about the Predators the whole time. You were named the best sports reporter in the Tennesseans' Toast of the Music City Awards in 2014 and 2015. In 2014 and 2016, Penalty Box Radio was received the second place in the best blog category. Then in 2015, it was voted as the best sports blog in Nashville. Those are pretty cool achievements for you. Tell us a little bit about the Toast of the Music City Awards and what those honors meant to you.
Yeah, first of all, it was a couple of years ago, like you said, when we first got nominated and everything. And when I first received the nomination, I was kind of shocked and going, "Oh, a hockey blog is getting recognition." Like this shows how the city's changing in terms of just accepting hockey and fans of it. Because I know folks that on the Forecheck have been nominated before as well, and friends over at Section303.com have been nominated. But you continue to see hockey blogs and shows and reporters get nominated for things. It shows just how much the city's growing towards not just all football, and it's important to make sure every sport gets covered here, and especially if the MLS does come here, it's going to be a big thing for the city as well. And so when I was able to receive these awards, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, it wasn't just me, it was the staff, because I do have a great staff as well on this blog, and no one's paid. everyone volunteers their time, from my graphic designer to my writers to other on-air talent and broadcasters, because we do so much in terms of covering hockey. We broadcast Vanderbilt hockey games, MPSU hockey games, Junior Predators games, and then I supply writers and have graphic designer and everything. So to have awards like that, it's kind of like the culmination of, hey, thank you for the work you put in. And so it's one of those things that's always for the people that work with me to make this blog great and to make this radio show great and to make everything we do great in covering hockey, to grow the sport and educate people about the sport. So that's really what it means to me, is to be recognized like that shows that other people who read the Tennessean and who read the Tennessean online and vote in this care about hockey and care about the sport. And to see that readers of the Tennessean were able to vote us and to vote me to win some of these awards, it really did mean a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the work that we do to promote the sport and to help it grow here in Nashville.
Well, how important is it to surround yourself with those like-minded people like that? You know, the people that will give their free time to do things like that. That's got to make your life a lot easier.
Oh, it absolutely does. And so I might be talking about it later, but the SEC has a hockey league, that Southeastern Collegiate Hockey Conference. And last weekend we had over 40 volunteers volunteering in that tournament to help me. 40. And that's just from me putting out a call on Twitter and Facebook of, hey, who wants to be involved here? In so many different aspects. I had people that I needed for volunteering for stats tracking, for PA work, for broadcasting, for just being runners, for being spotters, for being scorekeepers, everything. And have that kind of feedback of people that just wanted to learn about the sport and be a part of something special blew me away, and I was overwhelmed that we were able to provide more information for this hockey tournament than we've ever had before, providing advanced stats, providing different like face-off wins, little things that these coaches and players have never had before, plus video and camera work. I had a photographer for all 10 games showing up there. And these kids, especially because the league's still growing, when they see pictures of themselves doing things, it means a lot. As anybody knows, pictures of yourself when somebody comes and takes a picture, it feels good when you don't have to ask them really to do it. They're just there doing it because they enjoy it. And so all these people that are able to learn about the sport, they appreciate it much more later, and even talk to me saying, you know, I never thought about this before about the sport, but now I do, because I basically was a scout over the weekend to see how this sport works and how the plays work, how things develop. And that right there is important for me, is educating people to become a better fan of a sport. And that goes around any sport like that. If you're able to volunteer to look at a sport differently, it makes you appreciate it even more, because you're taking a deeper look at it instead of just being a fan in the stands and saying, oh, that was horrible, oh, that was great. Now you know why it was horrible or why it was great. And that's what I really did appreciate about that.
I think that's just awesome that you had, first off, that you had that much support, and then that you're able to do something like that and kind of educate people and give people a chance. Or, you know, I know I keep bringing him up, but, you know, Carlos had tagged me in that when you posted that on Facebook and Twitter. He had tagged me in it, and I'm like, well, thanks, man. You know, I think it would have been a great opportunity, and, you know, maybe eventually when you do it further down the road, I think he knows that I would, you know, like to get my foot in the door on some broadcast. And eventually, you know, I do a weekly show like I was telling you about. I just do a 1 hour show locally here in our small community. I'll do a 1 hour show on Wednesday. So I know he knows that I would like to get my foot in the door there. So he tagged me in that. So that's why I give him crap about it. I'm like, man, you're going to tag me in a hockey one that I know nothing about. But, you know, because he takes everything to heart, man. He should know now I'm such a, you know, I joke so much. I don't know why he takes me serious ever. But, yeah, he tagged me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to, you know, but all seriousness, I would have loved to help you. I run a youth basketball league on Saturdays right now. So that's why I really didn't reach out any further, but, you know, so maybe on down the line we can hook up on something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to get more people and teach people little things, and every little bit matters just in terms of learning about a sport. So that's why I do what I do.
Well, you know, so hockey's obviously hockey's a passion of yours, but you stay pretty busy with a day job too. You're the digital media manager and producer for the Nashville Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be a easy job either. I mean, there's bound to be a lot more going on behind the scenes there than what it looks like.
Oh yeah, first of all, I love my day job. I absolutely love it. It's one of those things that I was blessed to be able to get this job a little over a year and a half ago, and had to work really hard to make sure to get it. And I love it, and I would not take another job to leave this, because that's how much I love this job, because I get so many wonderful experiences with music. And so for those that may not know about the Nashville Symphony, I mean, we do more than just classical music, and there's nothing wrong with classical by any means, but a good way to introduce people to orchestral music because we have movies and concerts. So, for instance, in the past year, in terms of movies the symphony will actually play the whole score while the movie's played above them on a huge screen. Movies like Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Home Alone, all these different movies are you being able to watch them and hear the music played. And so all those have iconic music that people have heard, and we play the music with them. It's a great way to introduce people to it. But what I really do is the social media aspect, creating video and digital content, talking to these different artists. For instance, tonight, Frankie Valli is in town. Later this week, Temptations are here. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff going on here in this building, and I absolutely love my job and what I get to do with it and all the unique experiences I get to have with it as well.
When are y'all going to do Star Wars? Have you done Star Wars yet?
We have not done a full Star Wars. We've done the music of John Williams, who's the composer of the Star Wars music, and it's been absolutely awesome. It's just one of those things you have to wait for to tour. Yeah, and so even these movies actually tour, and that's one of those things that's funny when you think about it. The movie actually tours. It does. It's one of those things that actually tours around, and so if it ever does, trust me, I will be making a huge push to make sure it happens.
Oh, I'd love that. Just the Imperial March. I've got it on my telephone. That's how big of a dork I am. I listen to the Imperial March whenever I'm getting ready to go to work some mornings.
So that's to get you pumped, okay?
Get you pumped, yeah. Yeah.
How much does a ticket to something like that cost for one of your shows?
It really does vary for the movies and concert. Usually they're going to start around $40 or so, just because it's a big production to put the movie on.
Yeah.
Classical concerts start around $25 or $20, depending on the variety of shows that we have here. So it really does vary. There are always going to be affordable tickets to shows here, and we always have different promotions that we try to make sure to get people in the doors and get new folks in the doors as well. So I love it because it's a great way that I've been able to introduce a lot of hockey fans just because they follow me on Twitter and introduce them to what I do here as well, a block away from the arena. It's very convenient to be a block away from Bridgestone at the day job, so I can still go and do my hockey thing during the day if I need to and come right back to work.
Yeah,
but it's been very great to be able to introduce people here because we do have lots of affordable options.
Okay, so you're doing your day job with that. So you got your hockey on the side. I've got to ask you about this hockey team that you got on your, not just the Predators, but you're a part of a team called the Mighty Drunks.
Yeah.
Which is pretty damn interesting. So tell us about the Mighty Drunks.
Well, I will say that I do believe the Mighty Drunks are the best dressed team in rec league beer hockey because we have some pretty awesome jerseys. I will say that. If you go to our Facebook or our Twitter, you'll see our jerseys there. We have two different jerseys. We have our big orange one, and then we have our what do we call it, cream soda ones. And it's Reverse Sports that's designed these jerseys, and we were able to debut our cream soda ones. A bunch of us went up to Minnesota 2 weeks ago and actually played in a pond hockey tournament on a frozen lake up near Minneapolis. And that was awesome, to say the least. It was cold, but it was awesome, and it got us a lot of opportunities because, for instance, coming up, I believe it's either this weekend or next weekend, we'll be featured on NBC Sports for Hockey Day in America. Had one of my teammates get interviewed by Rolling Stone, and that article went out last week. And then WKRN also did a feature on us when we got back. So it was neat to see some Nashville boys going up and playing hockey in Minnesota. So we earned a lot of respect from the Minnesotans by doing that, and it's a lot of fun. We play down at Ford Ice Center, and we compete in the D League and the C League now. We have two separate teams, and we're trying to build the empire. That's what we're trying to do.
So who all do you
hockey and teach people the sport?
So who all do you play against? Other than like going to Minnesota, like where's the most of where your competition come from?
Oh, all of us in Ford Ice Center is the league that we play in both teams. And what we want to do is next season is really start traveling more to have multiple teams going up and playing in tournaments. And so that's what we want to do is kind of create a tournament-style team where we can play our rec league, beer league hockey Sunday nights and Monday nights. And then for some certain weekends, we have weekends off, go and play in tournaments because that's a lot of fun. It's fun to go and meet other people that play the sport. It's a pretty unique thing when you think about it. There aren't many sports that adults can play recreationally where you're playing the full sport.
And drinking.
So basketball, yeah, and drinking, yeah. So I mean, you have rec league softball, but there's not many rec league baseball, and you have rec league basketball, which is pretty big, but it's hard to play football. It's hard to play football rec league.
Right.
They have flag football rec league, things like that, and there's semi-pro leagues for football, but hockey's one of those sports you can play the full gamut of the sport as an adult. and all the way up to there's people in the league that are in their 60s and 70s. So it's pretty awesome to see that.
That is awesome.
I'd have to imagine playing on a pond would be a little bit easier on some of those 60 and 70-year-olds when you get checked. There's not a board for you to get your face slammed off of.
Yeah, I will tell you about playing on the pond is when you're playing on a lake, you have all these little cracks, which actually aren't that little, even though they look like it. The cracks are running the whole length of the ice, and they're about an inch and a half deep. And if your skate gets caught in one, you're done. So
Everybody,
I did get in the first game. I caught my skate in one and just slowly tipped over when I can't recover.
Does everybody holler toe pick as soon as you catch one of them? That might
pretty much. You can tell the people that are used to skating out and those that aren't when they're just easily able to adjust to things because we were falling all over the place. It was funny.
Having the thought that you might go through the ice too had to been in the back of your mind somewhere.
No. I mean, they had full size Zambonis and dualies driving on the ice. It was about probably a foot thick up there. But when you see a full size Zamboni, you're going, okay, I really hope it's thick enough because it has a really heavy piece of machinery driving on it right now.
Yeah, I'd be along the lines of, if y'all don't care, could y'all go ahead and get that big piece of machinery off of the ice so that I don't have to worry about falling in behind it?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple more hockey questions that were sent in on Facebook. The person will remain nameless because we've named him 5 times already.
But his name rhymes with Carlos West.
He's going to kill me. Tell us a little bit about the upcoming expansion draft and who you feel like the Predators may lose in the process.
Sure. Well, I'll go ahead, and for those of you that are listening that know me, usually Saros is exempt from the expansion draft. That's an inside joke for a lot of Predators fans. Totally for the Predators, and that gets talked about an absolute lot. But the upcoming expansion draft, to explain to the folks that aren't familiar with it, Las Vegas was awarded a new team, an expansion team that will start next season.
Right. They're
called the Golden Knights. And the way it works is that there's an expansion draft, and there hasn't been one since, I believe it's 1999-2000, when you had the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Minnesota Wild in the league, as well as the Atlanta Thrashers, which don't exist anymore.
I don't think so.
So the way that the expansion draft works is Las Vegas will get to select one player from every single NHL team to start their own team and to start building their prospect list. And so what has to happen is the NHL teams that are currently out there have to decide who they protect. And when it comes to that, there's 2 different options of what they can do. They can either select 8 skaters and 1 goalie, or 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goalie. And the way that works is as there is in most every sport, you have your no trade, no movement clauses. Any player who has a no movement clause is automatically protected. So it makes it a little more difficult for teams that have players that have a no movement clause, meaning they have to automatically protect them. They cannot do anything except for trade them if the player does waive that no movement. So there's going to be a lot of strategy going on, especially once the season ends and into June, on what teams are going to do for this expansion draft and how the wheeling and dealing is going to go on to make sure that they protect extra players that might not be on there. So no matter what, every team will only lose 1 player in the expansion draft. That's what I see some people worrying about. Well, how many players are going to lose? Well, 1. Only 1 player is going to be lost via the expansion draft. Other players could be lost with trade, everything like that, but just 1 in the expansion draft. And so there's going to be a lot of hubbub and hustle going on come June 21st when that does take place. And every team has to go through it. So it's not just to Nashville. Every team has to go through this process and figure out who to protect and the strategy behind that with contracts and everything of that sort, because Vegas will have to get to the salary cap floor and not go over the salary cap, which they won't. But they have to decide and make strategy decisions to do that as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works out. And the reason why the league's trying to do this is because they want to give Vegas a more competitive team than, for instance, what Nashville, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Columbus had for their first few seasons. So that's why they made it so we can only protect so many players, much fewer than they did before.
Yeah, because it's usually kind of your lower tier guys generally in history of that. I remember when the NBA done the expansion with the Grizzlies and the Raptors, it was like the 12th man on everybody's team and the kind of like the aging stars who had died out a little bit, And
yep.
So they're setting them up for failure right off the bat, more times than not.
Right.
Well, doing it this way, the way that you're doing it, they could potentially wind up. Somebody could get kind of catapulted into stardom on that team. Because you're going to take, you're going to take somebody that's nobody knows a whole lot about, but they're going to wind up being the number one guy on that team pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's what happened with Nashville. You had a lot of veteran guys and a lot of young guys, and those veterans were always kind of in the back end of the current teams they were on. Except here, they became fan favorites because they were the leadership as veterans of the NHL, so they instantly became leaders on the squad. And so those are some of the older fan favorites who are taking the expansion draft from the original team, and it gives people an opportunity to make a name for themselves. So especially some of the young guys that maybe they just weren't good enough to be protected yet, or they had a contract where they just couldn't protect them, they have a big opportunity to step into a role where they could be very successful.
How in the hell did Vegas get a hockey team before they got an NBA team and a football team? Can you believe that? It's kind of crazy because it's been rumors for years.
It is, and I guess you go back in the 90s when Vegas actually hosted an outdoor game, and it was pretty successful there. I mean, people go, Vegas? Well, it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
But money, it came down to money, and that's what the ownership wanted, and putting the millions of dollars into doing it and building the arena, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And the practice facility is going to be near the strip as well, so everything's going to be easily accessible. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they have an opportunity there if they do it right, because they'll really be able to market to those traveling fans.
Right, exactly.
Say, hey, come to Vegas, make it a vacation, and do that. As long as they get their money paid for. All the season tickets, a lot of them were bought by corporations, hotels, things of that sort. So that entertainment industry is going to play a huge role in it, even though they didn't want to play a huge role in the naming of the team. It's going to play a role in terms of ticket sales. It has to.
That's what I was about to say, because and I didn't mean anything by that when I said how did they get a hockey team. It's just that the NBA has been rumored for a better part of 10 years now. And, of course, football may or may not have the Raiders there next year, but it's like you never really heard about hockey in the conversation, and all of a sudden you're talking about hockey in the conversation for Vegas. It's like out of nowhere, but you hit it right on the head. I mean, I know a lot of people that travel to Vegas a lot, and they say, yeah, it's fun, but there's really nothing to do if, at certain times it's the same stuff. So I think it's absolutely great.
It is good, and it's also going to help the Potato Brothers get that NFL team out there, I would have to imagine, because going ahead and seeing how well that's accepted out there and how much money they do wind up making, it'll sure like grease that track a little bit for them.
Oh yeah, and then being a venue like that, they're going to be able to attract other things there to compete with, like the MGM and all these other hotels that have their concert halls and venues. They'll be able to attract things like that into that arena, just like other arenas like Bridgestone Arena does with concerts and how they really amped up their concert packages. They'll be able to do the same thing there and try to attract other performers to fill in that venue when the hockey team's not there.
Yeah. You think it's going to hurt them, though, with it being such a tourist town as far as keeping loyal fans?
Well, one thing I noticed when I went to Vegas, I think it's been 3.5 years now, is that it's grown so much with the actual number of people that live there and work there, because the entertainment industry is so huge. So people have to work in those hotels and things like that. So it's going to be, the challenge will be finding the happy medium in terms of tickets, of how much can we charge for the base that actually lives here, because most of the people are probably in the service industry, probably some in the tech industry. So those will be the higher end sales as well as the corporate sales and entertaining people in terms of corporations. But the regular fan base, your blue collar workers, they have to find the right price point for them to enter that building. And so I think that's going to be the big challenge with marketing, is finding out what can we charge to make sure we're not overpricing the ticket. Those blue collar workers that are workers in the hotels, work stagehands in the entertainment industry, people that aren't making much money, but there are hundreds of thousands of people that live there and work there every day. So it's going to be a challenge. I'm interested to see how they do that. I hope they're successful. I don't like seeing franchises fail. Just like I hate to see Atlanta fail, because, well, one, it was the closest visiting team to Nashville. And for Vegas, you want to see things fail because it looks bad on the sport, especially for hockey. It looks bad in the sport when it doesn't survive.
One of the things that they may have on their side there is, a lot of times if you've got something like that going to come in and it's so overpriced that the locals can't make their way into it, that it'll, like you're saying, it'll fail pretty quickly. But out there, that those people may be used to that. They may be used to everything being so overpriced that locals don't hardly make a way in. So that may actually play into their favor a little bit.
Sure, absolutely could.
I think that the fan base will gravitate towards it, because they really don't have anything, and this is kind of off topic, not off topic, but it's kind of just random. But I was watching the 30 for 30 on the XFL, and they had the franchise. I think it was the Outlaws, Las Vegas Outlaws, and they had some fans on there. And they were pretty distraught, like when they lost that franchise, even after the 1 year, because the promise was that it was going to be a couple year run at least. There 2 or 3 years they were promised. I think XFL and NBC was on a 2-year contract, and so when they lost it, even a second rate football team, they were upset. So I really think that if it's marketing right and put in the right situation, it'll succeed.
Absolutely.
Hope so. Well, tell us how it's looking this season for the Preds to make a playoff push.
It's one of those things. I do think they'll make the playoffs. Just with the way that it's ending up with other teams. Dallas has been by the wayside. Vancouver has been struggling a lot. Winnipeg struggling a lot. And in Colorado, hey, they tried. But I think the way it's looking for the Predators is they'll make the playoffs. What they really need to push for is to at least be in the top 3 in the division. And the reason why is that, as we saw last year, they got burned by being a wild card because they had to go to the West Coast 2 rounds in a row. And the thing is with that, they don't want to make an excuse, but it is a decent excuse when you have to travel thousands of miles every other day. And it takes a toll on your body when you're not traveling thousands of miles to go home. You're playing away. And so they did a great job of it in round 1, and they forced a Game 7 in round 2. But if they can stay in the division for at least that first 2 rounds, then they're only going to St. Louis or Minnesota or Chicago, if anything. That's where they would be going to. Most likely Minnesota or Chicago is where they'd be going. And that will save a lot of travel load for them. So they will make the playoffs. They're too good of a team to not make the playoffs, really. And we've seen so many turning points that it's hard to pick one. They just really need to use that comeback winning in Dallas as a turning point. I've said that multiple times on my show. Maybe that's the turning point. But they need to use that, especially going into right now. They're in the bye week and everybody's at the beach. And use this relaxation time to really heal up and get healthy because they're finally healthy for the first time all season. They have the majority of their players back except for maybe 1 or 2. And so this is the first time in the entire season they've been healthy to utilize this break to stay healthy and to make that push. Because if they can be in those top 2 spots, it's going to bode well for them to make a deep run because this team's too talented. As many of us saw at the beginning of the season, all the big experts, and we're talking national experts, are picking them to make the Cup final or to win the Cup. They need to live up to those expectations now because they have the talent to do it, and let's just see if they can.
Hey, we'll be looking forward to checking their progress. We root for them. Like I said, even though we're your casual fan here on One Lane Road Podcast, we do root for them. I love the atmosphere. Watching the atmosphere on everybody's Facebook pages and on television last year. I thought Smashville was that just incredible. So, well, hey Justin, if you want to, go ahead and plug your social media, plug your book for everybody, too.
Sure thing. First of all, the book is called Nashville Predators, The Making of Smashville. You can order that on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you find your book. It's also available in actual paperback or on your e-reader as well. It's, I think, a pretty decent amount of history there with Barry Trotz and Craig Leopold, general manager David Poyle, as well as multiple past players and a couple current players as well in there. So really proud of that product. Lots of pictures too. So those of you that can't read good, there's a lot of pictures in the book. And then Penalty Box Radio. That's every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock on ESPN 102.5 The Game down in Nashville. You can listen online as well. So we're always talking lots of hockey. And then on social media, Justin B. Bradford on Twitter and at Penalty Box Radio as well on Twitter. And I basically branded myself as Justin B. Bradford everywhere. So if you type that in, you'll find me. Cool. Anywhere you want to find me if you want to stalk like Carlos.
I love it. Oh no, hey, no joke. He's a good follow on Twitter. I keep up with him on his social media. Keep up with everything. So when Carlos does quiz me, I'll at least know what your tweet said. and he said something about you got a couple of books that you were giving away, maybe, or something. I forget what he said. Something about he had a book. He got a couple books from you. Some sort of giveaway.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you guys do a giveaway and let me know who the winners are, and I'll send them an autographed copy of the book.
Okay.
Giveaway.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yep.
I knew that it had been talked about. That's all. I knew it talked about it a couple times. So, well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I look forward to, me and Lucas getting to a game, meeting you in person. We can catch up there. But
yeah.
But we
absolutely, yeah. You guys let me know when you're there.
We really appreciate you coming on, man. Great interview. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on. I appreciate it. Anytime you need me, just let me know.
All right, Justin. Thanks, man.
All right, a big thank you to Justin Bradford. We really appreciated it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to tell him we appreciate it, but you told him enough.
I told him like 6 times right there at the end how much we appreciated it.
So, Justin, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you to Carlos for, in all seriousness, we give Carlos a hard time on the show, just in that interview, but Carlos deserves a hard time every now and then. But he, in all seriousness, appreciate him hooking that up and getting put me in contact with Justin. And
yeah.
So that interview could happen. So hope all you Predators fans enjoyed it, and I'd love to get down into a game before the season's over. You know, my buddy Jeremy's got season tickets. Carlos got season tickets. So surely
somebody ought to be able to put your butt in a seat.
Yeah, we've tried a couple times, just fell through. But anyway,
that's a lot of fun, man. Going to those games is a great time.
Yeah, and I'm not against being in Nashville anyway.
Right, you're not against a good time.
I'm not against a good time, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I do believe it.
Tell you what, I've slowed down a whole lot. 2 kids do that to you,
but one kid will do it.
But you back me in the corner for one good time,
and you'll fall right asleep.
I'm still. I hope not. You know, we've had big plans for Lindsay's birthday last weekend, and after I run that basketball league all day, we went over to Brad and Becky's, and I was like falling asleep in their love seat while they were playing rummy. Kids running around everywhere. So
that's some
man,
dad stuff right
how
there.
the mighty have fallen for myself and Brad Cragen. So did you watch the Grammys any?
I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, I got on there just to see Sturgill.
Yeah, that was me, man. I recorded it just for Sturgill.
Yeah.
Went back and watched it on Monday night. What was your favorite part?
Well, what I seen was Sturgill.
Yeah.
And just him being up there singing, man, sung all around you. He's just such a good musician. I don't know if everybody out there actually understood how good of a musician he is. There's all more worried about their stuff than him for sure. But gosh, he's good, man.
Didn't get the crowd reactions when they went straight to commercial break after he got done. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
Everybody gawking over him, but
yeah. And do you see the 21 Pilots guys that stripped down in front of him, and he was sitting right behind them whenever they took their pants off.
Yeah.
He just looked like he was in the middle of nowhere, man.
I thought that was the most ridiculous thing until they explained why they did it.
And then it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I was like, man, these idiots. But then I'm like, all right, I get it. That's cool.
Yeah, that was.
I wouldn't have picked if I was Sturgill. I kind of wished hell of a performance.
But,
but I wished he would have maybe done a different song. That's not my favorite he does.
Yeah, it's probably not the one that I would have, but he wasn't going to do Turtles All the Way Down either. So
yeah, but he could have done either one of the two he did on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, or Pollywog. I don't know if he did Pollywog on Saturday Night Live.
No, he I forget what did he do on Saturday Night Live?
I didn't even catch it. I almost refused to watch SNL.
I hadn't watched Saturday Night Live in years either, but I definitely recorded it that night when Sturgill was on. He smashed the guitar on that. We're going to look it up here in a minute because I can't remember the songs. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart. But, yeah, that's why I watched it. Other than that, there was a couple cool things. I mean, J-Lo's legs was a cool thing.
My God.
I think she just gets hotter.
She's she's in her mid-40s now, and she looks better now than she did when she was 20.
Her and Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, yeah.
Both are just so amazingly hot still to be at that age.
For Drake, which I think her and Drake may have split up now, but he was like 4 whenever she was like super popular.
Oh, J-Lo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that they were together. I think we might have even talked about it on our earlier show.
I don't know. Lucky guy.
Oh, man. I thought I liked it when Sturgill won the award for Best Country Album. He says, I guess the revolution will not be televised.
Talking about his song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily it was. You think they did it just because he took a shot at him?
No, no. It was they have so many awards they give away before. So he said, I guess he meant where he won the award and the acceptance speech wasn't going to be televised. So that's what he said. The revolution will not be televised. But he got his comeuppance later with the performance. But I thought the Prince tribute was good.
I didn't see it.
It was good.
What song did they do? And who did it? No idea. Had to have been like Purple Rain or Raspberry Beret or some kind of combination thereof.
No, neither.
None of them.
So we're going to cut this out because I don't remember what they did.
Never mind.
I don't remember. I just wrote down it was good.
Yeah.
Then they had the Bee Gees they had a Bee Gees tribute.
I seen Travolta come out and introduce them. That was probably the best person they could have got for that. Also, Travolta was showing his age pretty well. I couldn't even read teleprompter had to pull the stuff out there.
No kidding. But Demi Lovato and Tori Kelly, they're not hard to look at. And those little big town, Little Big Town's like sneaky good, like you don't want to always admit to your friends that you like Little Big Town, but they'll have a good song.
Yes, so what about Taylor Swift being the one that wrote their last big single that just come out? That Better Man song?
Well, I wouldn't have thought she'd have been writing about a man.
Yeah.
It's a shocker.
She apparently wrote it quite some time ago, and they put it out without anybody knowing that she had written it just to see if it would
hit or not.
If it would hit or not, and it did, and then they let everybody know about it.
Huh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Some other things. Katy Perry's a blonde. That was kind of odd to see.
It was a little odd. She didn't even look like Katy Perry, really.
No. I thought Maren Morris and Alicia Keys did good. They did a song together. Ridiculous outfits, and Alicia Keys was rocking rough and tough with her afro puff. She had some make Allen Iverson in 2001 jealous.
Yeah. I just absolutely love Maren Morris. I'm glad she's kind of hitting.
Yeah, I mean, she's had a really great year.
Yeah, she's got a killer voice, too.
There was the unfortunate pairing of Metallica and Lady Gaga.
Man, that really could have went over a lot better, to say the least.
Well, if a microphone
was turned on, somebody should have got fired over that.
Yeah.
That just kind of shows you what kind of disrespect they've got for rock and roll at this point in time. They wouldn't have dared to have left Lady Gaga's mic off.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's unfortunate for Metallica.
Yeah.
I'm really not understanding why Metallica's there in 2017. I don't really get the...
They was up for a rock album just because they released one, but the people they were with is like 21 Pilots and a few other people. I mean, nobody rock and roll other than Metallica.
These award shows are kind of baffling sometimes.
Yeah.
Then you had Neil Diamond teaming up with Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, John Legend, J-Lo, and Keith Urban, and all those Grammy Award-winning legends, and still can't touch Sweet Caroline like Jeremy Mackie on a Tuesday night at Woolly Bullies on that microphone on karaoke night at Woolies.
Not even close.
Now, Jeremy Mackie will give you the best bum, bum, bum in history.
Yeah.
Hammered drunk.
Don't even care.
No. I've seen it at least 47 times in my life. Never gets old. And
what about Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood? Did you see that?
I did, and they're Keith Urban just...
Dear God, Carrie Underwood.
I know.
Oh, my God.
Talk about legs.
Oh, my God.
That's like the cream of the crop with the leg.
The pair.
People that just listen to Justin Bradford's interview are like, who are these guys that just want to talk about women?
Who's these guys just putting women on a pedestal right here?
We're married, damn it. Give us a break, you know. We're on.
Get over it. Go back and listen to Justin Bradford's interview.
No, I thought Keith Urban's just such an amazing talent, man.
Talk about somebody who can get down on a guitar, man. He can flat play one.
He's about the best, really, in country music of mainstream country.
Or Brad Paisley.
Yeah, they're 1A, 1B, I guess, probably. Yeah. And, of course, I mean, the Adele, who had a huge night, winning Record of the Year, Album of the Year. But before that, she, started off with, doing the tribute to George Michael.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really giving her credit for, she messed the song up, Stop.
But it wasn't her that messed it up, though. It was messed up while she was singing it, but it wasn't her fault. There was a guy tuning a guitar, and she heard him tune the guitar, and he tuned it out of half a step down from where she was supposed to be singing. So when she started singing, she was in the wrong key because this guy tuned his guitar wrong.
I got you.
And so she took off to singing it, and she just went ahead and stopped it just because she thought, well, I'm doing a tribute here, and I'm going to sing it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, well, a lot of respect from her peers for her having the guts to just acknowledge the screw up and then stop and collect herself and come back and nail it. So, I don't follow Adele a whole lot, but boy, I tell you, she is very talented.
Yeah, she is. And I watched a little bit of her performance there, and right after she'd come back, she sat out and had kids, and was gone for a long time. I think probably like 4 years or so. Oh. And when she come back, there's a little rust on the pipes, when getting out on stage. The first one I seen her getting back out there and singing, she had a little rust around the edges, Boy, she has shook that plumb off.
Yeah, and so when she, I don't really know the difference between record and album of the year. They give them away back to back, so seemed to be kind of the same.
I thought that was the thing.
I thought, I don't know. Like I said, this is the first award show I've watched in a long time, but she sure proved to be a Beyonce fan.
She seemed to have been a Beyonce fan, yeah.
She was more distraught than Beyonce about Beyonce not winning the award.
She's probably afraid, like Kanye West, to come snatch it out of her hand before it was over with.
You've done so much for me.
Yeah.
You've all my friends, you've given them empowerment. And then, what have you got to do? I'm like, girl, you won.
Settle down, yeah. Just accept the award.
Thank God or somebody. Thank you, Mama. You know, you ain't got to thank Beyonce every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So
we really appreciate it.
You appreciating the hell out of some stuff now, for sure. Oh man. Well, hey, that was we're gonna cut this a little short this week.
Yeah. It was not a big week, but a good interview with Justin Bradford. Not a lot in the news category out there.
We'll have to catch up next week. I'll be on the road with Jeff Mackey. We're going to a Tennessee Titans season ticket holder dinner luncheon with the owner and the general manager and head coach.
What night is that?
That's next Wednesday.
So we will not be coming to you next Wednesday night.
Right. So but we will get a show in next week at some point. I don't know what night. We'll get you one though next week. And hey man, while we were recording last week, I didn't mention it. We ordered tickets for 2 of our alumni to head to Lexington to see them in March. Justin Wells and Jason Eady doing a house show together.
Yeah, so you got tickets for that?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Super excited about it.
Yeah, too. It's like a house party concept they've come up with, and like a house show, not a house party.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're like sitting on a stool, 2 stools up there, not on a stool together. It's a safety hazard, and so they're just gonna be like trading songs back and forth, from what I understand.
You know who you probably couldn't share a stool with? Justin Wells is a big guy. He's a big guy.
Yeah, he took up like half the picture. And I saved of him. So
it's about 6'13".
Oh man, yeah, I tell you, Justin's awesome. I can't wait to finally see him.
He's a big unit.
Yeah, I've seen him at everybody else's concerts. Finally going to see him in his. But yeah, it's a 50-person limit. So it's like one of them deals that you're going to have to watch them, because if you're watching something else, they're going to know that you're not
paying attention.
But
Get off your phone.
Yeah, it does if you don't care. You know. I text them both while we were recording the Wesley episode and ask them about the details.
Yeah.
They don't tell me anything. I go ahead and order the tickets because I'm afraid with a 50-person limit.
Yeah.
I better just go ahead and snatch these up from being in Justin's hometown. I order them. We go to shoot guns.
Yeah.
Me and Lucas went and shot crap out of some guns after podcast Sunday.
Yeah.
And come back and they text me like, oh yeah, but we're going to do a Nashville show together in April. I'm like, damn.
This will probably be better though, and I've got a gut feeling you're probably going to wind up knowing where Justin Wells lives after this.
I'm not sure that since it's in Lexington, it's probably not his house.
Yeah, I mean,
I have no idea.
I've seen that background before that was in that picture you showed me.
Yeah,
I've got a feeling that's his house or one of his bandmates.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something, man, for it to be. So, hey, man, I'm excited though. It's 2 of my favorite musicians getting off the bucket list.
Yeah.
May have to take the old guitar for that one.
Let them sign it.
Yeah, may do that since I've got Stapleton and Shooter on it. I just may add to the collection of.
Whenever they ask you to play it, say, no, I don't play this one.
Yeah, they don't want to play.
They don't want to play.
Yeah, I don't even know what kind it is, brother. Okay, all right, man. Well, that's when I wanted to update that before it.
That's cool, man. That'll be a good show.
I think so. Yeah. So maybe we can go to the Nashville one together.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So.
All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate y'all listening.